Heather Campbell? Here. Try that again. Roll call vote. Heather Campbell? Here. Kamal Johnson?
Present.
Cheryl Kazluga? Absent. Randall Martin?
Present.
Dominic Moranti?
Here.
Charles Millard?
Present.
Margaret Lawrence? Here. You have a form.
Welcome, Carol and Tiffany. Tiffany is a new reporter with the Register Star.
So we need an acting chair, if the mayor would like to act as that. And we need to elect officers. So you need the chairman. Vote on chairman, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer.
All right. Do I have any nominations for chairman?
I'll nominate you.
Happens.
I'll second it.
Third. All right. Do we need a vote? Or are we gonna do them all together?
I just run through them
Yeah, I think,
before you close the nominations. Are there any other nominations?
Any other nominations for chair?
Without
What was the next vice chair?
vice chair.
All right, any nominations for vice chair?
Dominic.
I'll second. Dominic.
Thank you.
Treasurer.
Heather.
I second.
An obvious choice. Who else?
What else is left?
Second.
Secretary.
Secretary. Any nominations for secretary?
Margaret?
I'll second.
Confirm your address is City Hudson IDA, City Hall, 520 Warren Street, Hudson, New York. Attention treasurer. We're going to confirm the meeting address, which is the CEDC office, 1 Hudson City Center, Suite 301, Hudson, New York, 12534, and the online meeting platform is Zoom. Your meeting date, do you want to hold to the first Wednesday of each month at 9:30? It's fine by me.
I would rather change the time to a little later.
10:30?
10:30 would be better for me. Any objections or discussions?
So Wednesday, first Wednesday, 10:30.
10:30. Now we need to appoint committees.
We have been asked to enunciate and speak up because it's difficult for the online people to hear.
It's difficult for me to hear. So we're gonna appoint the governance committee.
All right. Any recommendations, nominations for the governance committee? Number 3.
I'd like to be part of it.
I will as well. I think that was one I was on last year.
I'll be part of it. So the committees that we've got are governance, finance,
And finance.
sorry,
Audit and finance.
Audit and finance.
and the audit committee is a financial audit, correct?
Correct.
So you cannot be on it.
Correct.
And
I will be on the finance
you can
committee.
be on it.
And beyond finance. So it's 1 for finance. Any other for finance?
No,
Come on, it's fun.
I can
Dominic?
do finance.
No, it's a financial, so we got governance.
Yeah.
Do we-
Who's on governance?
No, we're not gonna vote on it yet.
Yeah, we didn't vote yet.
So we
but
go all the way down.
it was myself, Dominic, and Randall.
So for finance, I have Heather.
Heather.
Margaret,
Margaret, and one other.
Charles?
I can't because of my work. We're precluded from serving on finance committees, but I can serve on the audit committee.
Oh,
Heather.
so I'll serve on finance if that's okay. And then Charles can.
And then audit.
We need 2 more.
I would nominate Charles.
He's already nominated.
Oh, okay.
This for audits or for finance?
This
Audit.
is for audit.
I will serve on audit.
And
Random.
one more. You are? Thank you.
It should have just been Big Cheryl.
Now we're designating
Oh, yeah,
Register
no, I
Star
forgot.
as the official newspaper.
Yes.
Okay. Now we need to vote on all of that.
All right. There's no other changes. Have a roll call vote.
Motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call. Margaret? Sorry, Morris? Morris?
Margaret,
I'm sorry,
we're voting
That's okay.
on all the appointments.
Yes.
Okay. Dominic Moranti?
Yes.
Charles Millar?
Yes.
Randall Martin?
Yes.
Cheryl Kazoo is absent. Kamal Johnson?
Yes.
Heather Campbell?
Yes.
All in favor? Now, we can pause and have the meetings. Everybody set for your meetings.
Yes.
Now, let me work this through to see who's on what here. We're gonna do audit first. So that is going to be Charles, Kamal, and Randall.
And Mr. Mayor, if you would pause the regular meeting so that they can go into their individual committee meetings, please.
Yes. I would like to pause the regular meeting for us to enter into committee meetings.
You need a motion or?
Yeah, I like a motion, second.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll open the audit committee. Any nominations for audit committee chair? I like to nominate Randall.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, to approve the minutes from December 6th, 2023, audit committee.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
And Randall,
Oh, it's there.
Oh, that's true.
Randall's chair, so you can push that.
Oh, yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
take over now.
Great.
Okay, so I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the, what's it,
December 6th.
December 6th.
from the December 6th audit committee meeting. Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
And
Second.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye. I close the meeting?
Nope, that charter yet.
Charter.
Oh, yeah. And I make a motion that we approve our charter for the audit committee.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to do. I'll make the motion.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Discharge duties.
Is there a motion? No. What do you want to do with number 4? Is that,
Discharge duties, the report's in the packet. So we're just accepting the report as it is or changing it.
okay, so do I have a motion for accepting the discharge duties for 2023?
I'll make that motion.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion for the accepting the 2023 audit committee evaluation.
Which is on the back side of your meeting.
Sorry, thank you.
Last page on the back.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Accept as is.
yeah.
I'll make the motion.
I second the motion to accept as is. All in favor?
Aye.
And do I have a motion to adjourn the audit committee meeting?
So moved.
Second. All right.
Very well done, Mr. Chair.
Now we need to go to the finance.
Finance committee. Since I'm not on this, this is up to the members to the committee.
Choose a chair.
Choose their chair.
No, you haven't.
Finance committee is Heather, Margaret, and Dominic.
I second that nomination.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, I suppose?
Yes.
Majority rules anyway, so. Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes of the October 18th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
we're just Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
May I have a motion to accept the Finance Committee charter, which I'm sure you've all read in anticipation of this meeting?
Twice. I make a motion.
Second,
All in favor? Aye. Can I make can I have a motion to accept the most recent treasurer's report?
You can do that. I'll second.
okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to accept the 2023 discharge duties of the Finance Committee?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Can I have a motion to accept the 2023 committee evaluation of the Finance Committee?
I'll make that motion.
second,
All in favor?
aye.
Can I have a motion to accept the 2023 investment report?
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody from the public like to comment? Seeing no comments from the public, can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
All in favor? Aye.
All right, I will now open the audit committee. The first line of business being the audit committee chair. I'd like to nominate Charles.
Can we redo it?
We did audit.
Just
Oh,
have it.
Governance.
governance, I'm sorry.
Boy, you almost thrown me.
I don't know. So, my apologies. The nomination chair is, this is me, Randall, and Charles.
no,
Dominic,
Dominic,
the mayor, and Randall.
Okay, gotcha. In that case, I'd like to nominate Dominic for chair.
Okay.
Second.
I second.
All in favor, I guess?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All
Take
right.
it away.
So can I get a motion for the acceptance of the minutes of the March 29th meeting?
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Can I get a motion to accept the government's committee charter?
I'll make the motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Can I get a motion to accept the 2024 compliance calendar?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Motion passed. This says 2023 duty start.
Yes,
Should
that's
we-
correct.
Okay, so can I get a motion to accept the 2023 duties?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Can I get a motion to accept the 2023 government's evaluation?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. At this time, do we have any public comment? With no public comment, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn. So do we go back? No, we go back.
Yeah, like a motion to restart the regular meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're back. So now where are we? Annual housekeeping resolution. I gotta say, this is always my least favorite meeting. It's the organization. Board discussion.
Exactly halfway through the packet. You know, that's helpful, right? They're
Yeah.
not numbers. Yep, give it to me, I'll find it for you. Because they're not numbered, so it's a little.
I find it. We voted to accept this resolution.
You have to appoint the officers.
Okay.
I can call a roll call,
Roll call.
and then we can do a resolution to appoint the officers once you select the officers. Jamal Johnson,
Present.
Heather Campbell,
Here.
Cheryl Kazluka, absent. Margaret Morris, Dominic Moranti,
Here.
Randall Martin,
Present.
and Charles Millar.
Present.
We have a quorum. And now you need to select your chair, your vice chair, your secretary, and your treasurer. The whole board, yes.
Didn't we just do that?
Yeah.
Didn't acting, did you do it?
Yeah, we did that.
Sorry, too many pieces of paper.
Yeah.
Okay,
Nobody gets off easy.
So chairman.
Who's the vice chair?
Dominic.
Dominic.
Dominic is vice chair.
I'm treasurer.
Yeah.
Chair.
Chair.
And you're secretary.
I'm secretary.
That's right.
I was like.
It's been so long.
I take notes. I'm a secretary.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, and chair.
Double chair.
Now let's get back on track. So what we're gonna do is, with one vote, we're going to approve the officers. We're going to approve the address, which we went through at City of Hudson. We're going to approve the address of the meetings,
So we did this too.
the online
We voted on
platform. Did we do all this?
Yeah, we did this. Yeah, we did this.
Without objection, so ordered.
Yeah.
Remember, the only thing we did is change the time from 9:30 to 10:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while we're doing this, would this be an appropriate time to point out where on the public website documents are posted?
Sure. Can you, share the screen?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really like tech savvy. when it comes to that.
Okay. Well, then let's, if you, go to the, you'd have to get the site up and then share it, but go to Hudson IDA, where,
I can try.
you can Google Hudson IDA, or you can go to the city website,
cityofhudson.org.
hudson.org.
CEDC guest, correct?
No, Hudson,
No, she's looking for the Wi-Fi password.
Okay.
Connect.
what's our
UTC guest.
guess? What's our password? Rock CEDC.
CEDC, capital C, capital E, capital B, capital C, capital R, OCD,
It's a CEDC work.
with capital
Okay, I'm not going to.
Did you hear that, Margaret?
I'm having.
Oh,
Do you need the password?
Ready to join my phone. Oh, well, you can show it on the screen, that's fine, I don't need to. So, yeah, when I was looking for, this is where I was looking yesterday. I went to committees and boards. If you go to departments and you go down committees and boards. I went to
Yeah, scroll
IDA.
down on that.
Go to,
Keep going a little bit longer, a little bit further.
Here?
No,
up a little.
actually up at the top, there's. in
You
the
can
top
hold- yeah,
bar,
there you go.
Okay. There's
Committee and
committees,
boards.
committees
Boards and
and boards.
committees, number 2.
Yeah, select that. Then open the one for IDA.
And then go back up to that page, and if you scroll down, you'll see meetings. You can hit meetings over on the side. And if you go down, you'll see meeting materials.
Okay. I just,
Goes navigation.
just a navigation.
Yeah, we're gonna look at that and maybe put that up on the top. Meeting materials,
Right,
as a meeting, when I say meeting schedule, meeting materials,
right.
so
okay.
people can access it
Yeah.
easier.
Okay, just want to make sure it was out there. Thank you.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the consent agenda.
I can't hear you.
We're gonna do the consent agenda.
Okay.
Sorry.
What are we doing?
So that's a second. Hopefully reviewed all of that and then make one motion with all that in.
The consent agenda. It's the second item.
Mhm.
I don't even see what we're looking at.
Which one's number
It's
2?
number 2.
Consent agenda.
Oh, it's all that down, all that, it's all
Got it.
stuff you.
What we've done this year is taken all of the required materials for the state, put them in your packet for your review, and rather than individually approve them, we're going to approve them in a consent agenda all together.
We need a motion to approve all the items in the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next is the treasurer's report. Okay, a newly elected treasurer.
Here somewhere.
All at the end.
All at the end, yep.
Yeah.
Save the good news for last.
Okay, so you've got the balance sheet for the Hudson IDA for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. As you can see, we've got about $700,000 in cash in the bank, but about 200 of that is going out in terms of pilot payments to the city, the school district, and the county. Those checks were actually cut last month. Aside from that, we've got about $22,000 in escrow cash, and the rest is income for the city. So that's a nice improvement from where we were a few years ago. Probably indicates that we should spending some time determining how we want to spend or invest some of those funds. The IDA really hasn't had any money to invest in the time that I've been here. So there'll be a new item in the agenda and something we should all start to consider. I think Chris Shaw probably would have some insight in terms of what we can and cannot do as an IDA in terms of how we can invest our funds. It is limited to developmental items. So not a conversation we have to have today, but a conversation we certainly should be having going forward in fiscal year 2024. Aside from that, I think the only other thing of note is that based on how the meeting goes today, there's a good chance that that $40,000 of land on North 2nd Street will disappear from the balance sheet as we are considering providing it to the Columbia Land Conservancy for additional development of their land and trails.
Ask a question, can you just explain the pilot?
Yes. So basically, one of the main things that the IDA does in terms of development is providing pilots, which is payment in lieu of taxes, to ventures that come forward and request them. If the pilot is approved, we have a standard pilot, but there can also be deviations. Those have to be individually voted on. At the end of the day, the developer gets a pilot. The property, and I actually have a question regarding this in terms of where we are in the process of one of these, but basically the property gets put into the name of the IDA, it becomes tax exempt, and the property developer pays to the IDA its pilot fees. We, as the IDA, turn around and we have to pay those fees back out to the 3 taxing jurisdictions, which is the City of Hudson, Columbia County, and the school district.
So it's a pass-through.
It's basically a pass-through, yeah. We do get lease income generally, and that is income that the IDA retains, but the pilot income basically just comes in and goes back out.
Is there anything that keeps us from getting a higher rate of interest on our demand deposits? Since we had 7 basis points last year, $573.37.
Yeah.
Can we negotiate with the banks for a higher rate of interest on the demand deposits?
What we've done with other accounts, CDC, is Bank of Green County will give you 2% on a demand account, and then you can also purchase CDs at a higher rate.
Right, Relax, I think even higher.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of leverage there.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
And I only mentioned
I can't say for
that
sure, but I
because
think-
that's the bank that we currently work with.
Yeah.
We're ecumenical about bank.
yeah. But I also would imagine that Bank of Green County could match their rate because they'd like to keep the business, so.
So back on the pilot, so I can see the payable amount. Where would I see the pilot money coming in?
It is going to be in,
Last year's revenue.
Would it show up on this report?
it would not, it's in cash. It's basically in cash.
Sure.
So the
It's in
counter,
income statement.
yeah.
Yeah.
But on the balance sheet,
No.
it's just in cash. It's cash on the liability.
It's
Alright.
commingled with the other funds.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, you can see it on the, if you flip over, you can see it on the income statement.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Any comments from the public? Conclude the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Now we'll go to our acknowledgement of our fiduciary duty.
Chair, I have a motion.
We have a motion to acknowledge, for the acknowledgement of our fiduciary duty.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So that's basically us signing these and giving them to you, right?
And required training, we have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, now for our administrative director's report.
Good morning. First item on the agenda is the Columbia Land Conservancy North Bay discussion. And I'll turn that over to our counsel, Chris Shell.
Thanks, Mike. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So you have a resolution before you to consider the authorization of the sale of the North Bay tax parcel. If I could, I'd like to hit some highlights in that resolution. So if for board members that weren't here last year, the proposal was put forward by CLC to acquire North Bay parcel that was originally conveyed to the IDA for development purposes. A portion of that property, actually I believe by HCDPA back in the day. And a portion of that parcel was developed by the IDA and was conveyed out to a developer for the, what is now, Michael, the current occupant is that Harney?
Arnie,
Right.
Arnie T.
So there's a large portion of that, and then subsequently, several years ago, a portion of lands underwater, which was literally lands underwater, was conveyed to the city in connection with a project through OGS. And so what remains is largely property underwater, and there is some upland portion. So the upland portion, the IDA had a study prepared by Crawford and Associates as to whether that remaining portion of the property was actually developable. And their report concluded that it was infeasible because most of the property was wetland, and the parts that were not wetland would be inaccessible without significant expense that would outweigh the cost of the development. At least that was their conclusion. And so based on that, the HIDA obtained an appraisal from Concra for that. The process of conveying property to a non-public entity, CLC is a not-for-profit, but it's not a public entity, at a price that is below fair market value involves having to provide an explanatory statement to the public authorities, board, and also to the representatives of the Senate and Assembly and the governor. So that process was completed. And Michael, if you could confirm for the record that no objection was submitted by any of those authorities.
That's correct, and there was a February date by which they were each required to respond, and we have received no indication from any of those entities with respect to this transaction.
Thank you. And so the agency at a prior meeting reviewed the project under seeker, the conveyance of the vacant land to CLC, and concluded that it was not going to have a negative effect on the environment, and they adopted a negative declaration. So this resolution that's before you would be to consider the contract of sale. And the contract of sale has been worked through with counsel for CLC. This is a vacant land contract which has a number of conditions. It is to provide for their ability to review title, their ability to review condition of property, their ability to confirm that they're able to make sure that they can have the connections that they intend to create for their ultimate plan to develop trails, which they will have to do at a later date and seek whatever permits are required at that time. But they want to be sure that they have an opportunity to do that, so that they have asked for a condition in the agreement that they're not prepared to close unless they are sure they have adjoining owner agreements. So all of those conditions would have to happen before we close, and then we would be conveying a quitclaim deed because the nature of title has been essentially in the IDA's hands for so many years. That is the condition on which we propose to convey it, and that it's being conveyed for $1. So those are the substantive provisions of the agreement. There are two conditions subsequent. The CLC will acknowledge that they're acquiring this for open space purposes, and their intention is to create a public access trail. And that was one of the purposes that the IDA found from an economic development perspective to be consistent with its mission and purposes, because that would encourage tourism within the community. And also, there is a condition in the deed, or there would be a condition in the deed, that if they that they were required to use this project for park and open space purposes, including public access trails, but that that condition would fall away if the property were reconveyed to a public entity, being the U.S., New York, the County of Columbia, or Hudson. All right. So because the IDA could have conveyed to any of those entities, without compensation. So CLC requested that out, if you will, because they often will seek to assemble a project and prepare a trail and then potentially convey it to another party, such as the state parks, for long-term maintenance. Michael, do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, I think, this property, as determined by the Crawford study, demonstrates that it's non-developable, which is something that the agency members had asked that we be sure of before we convey it, before you consider conveying it to the Land Conservancy. We complied with the Authority Budget Office process and the agency's disposition of land policy by having an appraisal done, and by submitting that information and the information regarding the development of the site to the Authority Budget Office. And as Chris indicated, that also had to be copied to the governor, the legislature, the Attorney General, and the Controller. And as I mentioned, no one has objected. So you're in a position to approve it if you feel that the conditions and the provisions in the contract for sale are acceptable to you.
So Mike, in this map here, exactly what area are we talking about here?
Yeah, Mike, can you illustrate? They have a hand-drawn sort of, if you see the black line, shows the area of the IDA property.
Black line?
The
heavy black line.
And as you can see, to the left, the title wetlands, you can see that that with the small exception of the visitor parking, why they determined that side of the property was non-developable. And the other, if you go and drive up the road towards Harney T, you'll see that that hill is a pretty steep hill. And it backs up against the Fire Homes property. So I think there's some varying indications of the total acreage. I'm not sure, Chris, what you ended up, I guess.
We have an approximate acreage that was based on the surveyor's estimate at the time that they looked at this informally, but the agreement will be subject to their obtaining a survey that we'll use for purposes of the deed.
It's that was the previous. It's quite a large parcel, but as you can see, more than half of it's underwater.
Given the information received and that there was no objections, I ask for a motion and second to approve the contract of sale to the Columbia Land Conservancy.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Do we need a roll call for this one?
We can. Let's get on the list.
roll call vote.
Let's do this by hand. Okay. Heather Campbell,
Aye.
Jamal Johnson,
Aye.
Randall Martin,
Aye.
Dominic Moranti,
Aye.
Margaret Morris, Charles Millar,
Aye.
all in favor. And Cheryl Kessler is absent.
I think this will be a great addition to the city's recreational amenities. I think Land Conservancy has demonstrated over the years its stewardship, and they will, I'm sure, provide a great access to this property and a connection to the Empire Trail. The next item on the administrative report is a 2023 review. We began 2023 with the closing of Pocketbook Factory project. That's moving along. We also saw the beginning of construction of the first half of the proposed Depot District housing project on 7th Street. We continue to have conversation with the owners of 601 Union Street, which is the Elks Club. They are awaiting final review and approval from, I believe it's the zoning board or the planning board, before they will potentially come with an application. We have had a conversation with the developer at 620 Union, and he would like to come in and address the board at the April meeting, and I believe is planning to submit either an amendment or a new application, depending on what the agency's position is. You'll recall that he had 3 years to begin to complete the project. This project was approved initiated at the same time as COVID's hit, and it was a very difficult time to get financing, and then interest rates went up, and so there was a pause in the project to reconfigure it, and he's going to amend the application and submit it for your review and discussion. We've also had inquiry from the Crescent development, which is the, I guess if you call it, some call it the Ackerman building, some call it the Packard building on Warren Street with respect to IDA financing. They have received a Restore New York grant. It's over $1 million. We've had and obviously, there are the SEC 7, that project which you financed a year and a half ago is up and running and opened on Dock Street, 7 Dock Street. They have a small retail outlet and are doing wholesale frozen food distribution throughout this area and then greater New York City area. And the other projects that we're talking to, people are, exploring what opportunities the IDA can provide for the new members. The IDA, if the project meets its criteria, and if the IDA decides it also meets the chart that you've created to rank and qualify projects for eligibility and for benefits. The IDA can provide an exemption of the 1.25% mortgage recording tax, can provide an exemption of 8% sales tax on eligible construction materials, and it can enter into a payment in lieu of tax agreement. With respect to the mortgage recording tax, the city's share would otherwise be 25% of the 1.25%. With respect to the sales tax, the 8% sales tax, 4% goes to the state, 4% to the county. the city gets approximately 13% of the sales tax. So you'd be giving up 6% of the total tax. And on the pilot, there is a uniform pilot policy that is on the website, which is a mirror image of section 485B of the real property tax law, which provides for a 50% exemption in year 1, down to a 0% exemption in year 11. I think at the next meeting, we'll review the eligibility criteria that the agency has adopted, as well as the evaluation chart that the agency also adopted about a year ago, where depending on how a developer is approaching a project and what other benefits that they may be providing to the city in terms of training or job creation, an evaluation and point system that could enable a developer to request a deviation from the uniform pilot policy to achieve a greater incentive. So I think that for the new members, at our next meeting, we'll hold a bit of a overview of what the agency's abilities are, what its limitations are, and review perhaps 1 or 2 of the projects that have been done in the past to give you an indication of how the IDA has acted in prior projects.
Could you give us a quick description on the Crescent development that's going to come before us?
Yes. Just give me 1 quick second. The Crescent Building project will rehabilitate a long neglected building at the top of Warren Street, which has sat dormant for many years. The 18,000 square foot building will be a new hub for creativity in Hudson. This is from the developer. Housing and gallery space, film production studio, open floor plan, artist lofts, and a rooftop event space that will add 3,000 square feet to the overall plan. It was constructed in 1916 as a garage and showroom for the then famous Hudson Motor Car Company. The Crescent Building was once a center of modern technology and bustling industry. This adaptive reuse project will transform the space into a vibrant community resource, restoring the architectural gem, breathing new life into the immediate neighborhood. Will offer new jobs and other opportunities for residents and visitors. Balancing historic preservation and architectural innovation, renovation will preserve the building's historic character, utilizing environmentally responsible construction. And they received a $1.3 million grant from the state of New York's Restore New York program.
Thank you.
And when they say artist lofts, it does include, I believe, 4 or 6 apartments. So, I think this year, I'm optimistic. We have also last year discussed the K&R project for Providence Hall and Schuyler Court. That's a 151 unit between the 2 projects of Section 8 housing. They are hoping to close in April. There's a bit of a restructuring going on with respect to what the IDA's role will be as it relates to issuing tax-exempt bonds. The state has decided that with respect to rehabilitation of existing housing projects, that those bonds should be issued through the New York State Housing Financing Agency and not local IDAs. But in order for the project to be successful, it needs to have the pilot agreement and other IDA benefits that this agency approved last year. This is a very critical project for the city. It's 150 units of Section 8 housing, and the Section 8 housing contract is 30 years old and has expired. HUD has given a temporary extension. This developer's plan is to acquire it from the existing owner and make significant renovation and improvements to the project for the benefit of the residents. If this project does not, the reason the IDA supported it in its meetings last year was that this project was not to stay a Section 8 project for the next 30 years, which in return for the incentives that were provided, this developer has agreed to. And HUD will reissue a 30-year contract to this developer. These units could be sold on the market, and a significant, a much larger rehab would be done, and those 150 units would no longer be available for people who are using the Section 8 vouchers. So it's a very critical project. We've worked very hard. The city's been involved in discussions with the state with respect to this change, and we are, just initially the IDA was going to issue the bonds, but now the state will, but the IDA will still have a role in the finance.
So just to be clear, do they or do they not, KNR, do they or do they not own the property at this point?
They have it under an option, and the option's been extended through the end of April.
Okay, because
So they have control. They have control.
Well, but I'm asking from a tax perspective,
no,
because
they
it
have
should have
not.
gone back on the tax roll, which means that the Arbor Management, right? Is it Art? No, that's Hudson Terrace.
Yeah.
The other ones, whoever owns it now, they're still on the hook for taxes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Who is the new owner?
It's a corporation. I can get that for you. I don't have it.
KNR.
KNR is the developer who has an option to purchase it from the current owner.
And the current owner is who?
I'm gonna have to look that up for you.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's probably, Skylar Court LLC with, where somebody's behind it. There's an entity that owns the
Yeah, I
building.
just can't remember.
And occupancy, is it fully leased?
Yeah,
Yes.
and there's a backlog of demand for units that would accept Section 8 vouchers.
It's not, Michael, I believe it's not vouchers. It's the whole point of the 30-year agreement is a project-based commitment. by HUD.
Project, actually. Yeah, you're right. So when we also had an inquiry from gentleman Eric Longo, who was looking at a property on Columbia Street. It's a small project. One of the issues is that, what size project does it make sense to use IDA financing? Sometimes lawyers will tell you it's $5 million or more. Others will tell you it's $1 million and more. And the reason it's an evaluation that the developer would have to go through before applying is that the developer pays a 1% fee of the total project cost. And so if it's a $3 million project, that's a $30,000 fee. The mortgage recording tax on a $2.5 million mortgage for, if you got 80% financing is $30,000. So, it's a wash at the mortgage recording tax level. Depending on the amount of construction material that's subject to sales tax, you would be eligible for an 8% exemption there. But at the same time, there's about a $25,000 minimum legal fees to do an IDA deal, regardless of the size. And so, often the paperwork, the reporting, and the other requirements of having a 10-year or longer relationship with an industrial development agency results in a developer deciding not to go that route. But in a small city, it might be that there is an opportunity for this agency to help guide the type of development it's looking to achieve by developing a template that allows for an efficient economic use of the agency to develop smaller projects. But again, that was just an inquiry as opposed to an application.
Mike, I would just note that you have standard documents. So the additional cost often of doing these projects, in addition to the basic real estate part of a closing, involves, and diligence and all of that involves, you know, restructuring deals based on their particular lender, their particular project. So if they're able to do a project without deviation, if they're able to do a project using standard documents, it lowers the cost. And that's a conversation you can have with the developers.
Right. I know with the $7 million project that the SEC 7 team did, you know, and as Chris mentions, every deal is unique, but it seems to me, from my overview of legal bills for IDA deals, that they're all unique enough to be pretty hefty compared to the cost of the project. And it's not that I'm not suggesting that it's you know, it's the work involved and on both sides, because the developer not only pays their counsel, but they pay our counsel. And if there's an appraisal involved, or if there's an independent study, it's all of those fees adding up together that, you know, I think a developer has to look at before they, I mean, with the housing projects, there were $14,000 a piece to do the economic analysis. And so when you add all those things together, not just picking on lawyers, Chris, the fees do get expensive.
Thank you, Mike.
Do we know how many jobs, do we have a final total of the jobs for SEC 7?
No, I know they're having trouble finding people for jobs, but we could get that. Do you have the report?
Hold
Yeah,
on.
she may have the report. They had
Don't
to,
vote on it.
they had to file a report with Lisa so she can file it with the state by the end of the month.
Okay.
I know they're still looking for people.
That's the place down on top, right?
It's, they've invited you to come for a visit. If, you know, it's difficult to take the whole agency for a visit because it's a public meeting. But if any of you are interested in, you know, or we can arrange a one-on-one or a couple of you at a time tour. It's a very interesting project.
Just don't go if you're hungry, because you might end up coming home with some food.
Right.
And they reopened the retail?
Yeah.
portion?
Very small, but and it's all the frozen food that they're selling and some other products.
The meatballs are not the same as Town and Country, is what I've heard.
Okay, they have 10 employees as of the end of the year.
Works there, you can the rest of it.
Do you have the same information for Hudson Terrace?
I'm not sure if it's in the dash.
No, that's, I don't need it now, but we need it to provide it to the auditors.
Oh, yeah.
That's also,
Oh,
if you
yeah,
have
they
that.
have it. I sent it to
Oh, you
them.
did? Okay, cool. We're in the middle of the
Yeah.
2023 audit, and they're,
They actually went up one this year.
yeah, their site is not great, the auditor site, because you can't tell whether something's been fulfilled or not, and then they put so many things under one query that you don't know.
I've sent it, I put it
It's
under
just
last year's.
annoying,
Everything
but-
in mine is under last year's because they didn't get it up in time, so.
So we're looking forward to another successful year. I think as Chris, or as Heather reported with the finances, you know, there's $500,000 plus that's been brought into the IDA over the last 2 or 3, 4 years. And, you know, it will be a good discussion as to what can be, how that money can be used, and, you know, how much working capital you really need to keep in the bank versus making an impact doing other eligible activities.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Being that there's no further business, I'll now open up for public comment. Comments online or from Tom? Seeing that there's no comments, ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you all very much. It's great to have you all back, and